welcome back to my channel. Again, thank you so much for subscribing. I really appreciate all of you. So a lot of you may know that I do have a previous Notion tutorial up on my page about how to use Notion, what it is, and why I think it's so great. And I did notice that recently a lot of you have been watching that video again, and there have been new people joining my channel and joining my subscriber list. So I did want to make another video on Notion using my updated template and why I think it's so great. This template is also linked in the description below along with my previous one, so you guys can choose which one you want to use. I have tried to optimize this one for online learning, but of course things can be changed as you see fit. So before I start, I want to remind you that Notion is free for students. If you log in through your school account, Notion will recognize it and prompts you to upgrade to the Personal Pro plan. So here you can see that I'm on the Personal Pro plan and I'm charged $0 per month, and it renews every month as long as I have this school account. So this is a great way for all students to have Notion for free and to have unlimited creativity with the Notion plan. Okay, now let's get into this video. I just want to show you guys what my current template looks like. This is for my human physiology class that I had last semester. And yeah, there's a lot going on, but trust me, it isn't that hard to build. And once you do make one of these or download the free template, you'll be able to keep up by just duplicating it for all your other classes. At the end of this video, I will be showing you guys what my notes look like from this physiology class, if you guys want to stick around and watch that as well. Without further ado, at the top, I have my course code and a corresponding cover with a picture, aka icon in Notion, to go along with it. The icon shows up at the sidebar when you're looking at all your other classes in your workspace as well. So make sure it looks like the subject you're studying. Below that, I have my course syllabus that I mainly use to find my professors or TAs, contact information, or my marks breakdown for individual lab components, for example. To get this, just type /PDF and hit enter. Moving on, my course content table consists of a variety of elements, and I will be going over each one in this video. To make this table, type /table and choose inline if you want your table in this page and not on a separate page. So for my lecture titles, I use the format L number, which represents the lecture number that I'm on. Things like P1 or P2 would represent that the lecture was split into different parts. To get this on your table, choose title as your property. Moving on, for delivery, meaning how the lecture is formatted for us, I have two drop-down components that I can choose from, either synchronous or asynchronous. This drop-down menu is called Select on Notion. The reason I have this here is because a lot of times it is easy to forget whether the lecture was live or not, especially when you have hybrid courses like this one. Obviously, if you just have synchronous lectures, this may be redundant and not needed, so always optimize each template to your course needs. Because trust me, if you get this organization done right now, it will keep you on track this semester. Well, at least it did for me last semester. I always have the corresponding textbook chapter written next to the lecture as well. This is for courses where the professor likes to go by chapter and not by lecture number when it comes to talking about the content on an exam or a midterm. So this is a really easy way to refer back and not have to search through all of your course syllabus again. I use the property called number for this. Next, I have another select drop-down menu for the type of content I am talking about. So I made sure that each component of the course, whether it is a lab, quiz, assignment, was represented in this drop-down menu and gave them different colors. If you don't like the colors in my template, choose the 3 dots on the right and change the color or even what I named it. Next, I have a checkbox to number 1, keep me on track, and number 2, to give me the satisfaction of crossing something off. Well, I mean checking something off in the context of this video. The last 3 columns here are my grades calculator. I went over in detail how to make this in my previous video, but to quickly sum it up, the first 2 columns are numbers, and the last one is called formula. First, I'll input the grade I got, then its total weightage in the course will go in the column to the right. And because my third column has a formula inputted, it would automatically calculate my grade for that weightage. Here's the formula that I used. It was made by Notion, so you can find it elsewhere on the internet as well. So feel free to just use this formula if you're making your own template. Another thing I want to mention is that Notion has this feature where you can set reminders for yourself. So for example, for my human anatomy course, I have a lecture on this date. And so I've set a reminder for it and it'll notify me on 9 a.m. of that date. That basically sums up how I used Notion this past semester and how I will be using Notion from now on. I have both templates in my description if you still prefer the previous one, so all good. Choose whichever one you like. Now let's get into the part where I show you some of my notes on Notion. Okay, I'm going to be showing you some of my favorite notes from my human physiology course. Let's start off with the cardiovascular system. You can see over here that human physiology requires a lot of memorization. But to learn these things and to learn how blood pressure is measured and how our heart works and the way blood travels in our body is so fascinating to me. Here's one of my lectures from immunity. And I found it really cool that in this lecture, or in part 2 of this lecture, we learned about vaccines and to be able to apply it to how the COVID vaccine works and what exactly goes on in our body is absolutely fascinating. Here is my tissues lecture from my human anatomy course. This one was a lot of material to cover. So first we had a pre-required reading from the textbook, which is what these are. And from this point onwards, this is where the lecture starts. You can see we learned about the classifications of epithelium. So there are different ways that they can be arranged. So they could be simple, which is non-layered, and stratified, which is layered cells. And then we also have different cell shapes. This is squamous, cuboidal, and columnar. And they're all attached to the basement membrane over here. In stratified, though, not all cells are attached to the basement membrane. So here we can see some of these micrographs of the epithelium, and then we have what they actually look like in a cartoonish diagram and where they're found in our body. And as you can see, there's a lot of them. The hardest one is this one. It's called transitional epithelium, and at first glance it looks like there are layers of cells stacked on top of each other, but this is not the case for this. And that's because all of these cells are actually attached to the basement membrane somewhere. It is really hard to see, so I do have to study this one a lot more. And here we learned about some exocrine glands, and the different classifications. One thing I found really cool was the holocrine gland, where to release these secretory products, what it does is the entire cell just ruptures and becomes the secretory product itself. So you do need to have a very high mitotic division rate at the lower layer of the cells, so that whenever the upper layer keeps bursting out its secretory products and killing itself, the lower layer keeps making more to replace those cells. So that's it for this video today. Thank you so much for being here and for believing in me. And for anyone wondering, my old YouTube channel name, this YouTube channel's name was Study With Me, but now I've changed it to Neina, and that is my name. So it's nice to meet you all, and I'm so glad that you're here with me, and I will continue to keep cranking out content, things that you would like to watch, so please feel free to leave your suggestions down in the comments below. Thank you, bye!